This is the Frat House Sports Show. And now for this week's completely different and humorous perspective on everything sports, here's Frat House Mike and Sidekick.
All right, well, listen, welcome back one more time to our Frat House Sports Show. We got everybody, it looks like we got everybody back in place here in their right spots. Frat House Mike, Sidekick there, Uncle Mark's right there, coming to us from Skype. Well, we're having a little bit of fun here tonight, but I gotta say this, gentlemen, great deal of excitement, obviously, here at Frat House Sports. A little bit of melancholy, kind of hanging over the set just a tad as I'm looking out over nobody can see it, the purveyance of emptiness here in our studio. Hit
the road!
Yeah, really, thank you. As this is our final show here at the Frat House 1 studio, the original studio, and within 2 weeks from this evening, we will be coming to you from our new Frat House 2 location. Yep. And new studios there. So, it's exciting, but after 140 shows, you can't help but feel just, I guess, kind of a bit glum. We've watched everything. A little
nostalgic.
Yeah. We've watched everything kind of evolve and change and improve over all those times. And watching that over all this time, it's hard to believe. It's been, 2.5 years or whatever. But while I'm mentioning it, I just said, we'll be coming to you in 2 weeks, which will be May 29th. We're going to do a show this evening, but I don't want anybody out there to think that there is no show next week. No, there will be a show next week. All right? And what we plan on doing... Actually, it works out perfectly because we had planned on doing this anyhow, but we were just going to do it live. Next week would have marked, believe it or not, 1,000 days of sports that we've been on covering it. We've covered.
Is that Uncle Mark? 1,000 days of sports?
That's good. Yes.
Checking.
Yes, you were part of many parts of one of those 1,000 days. Absolutely. But now we've got. It's hard to believe. Think about that. 1,000 days of sports that we've actually been on. And
it's awesome how far you've come.
Because we're going to be moving into that new studio, what we plan on doing is putting together for you a compilation, highlights, all the things that, well, not all the things, but we'll try to get to as many of the things that we covered in those 1,000 days of sports. So we're only going to be talking about those things that have happened while we've been covering them. And it should be a lot of fun. And it's going to be a show, make no mistake, that you are absolutely not going to want to miss. So we won't be coming at you exactly the way we are right now for 2 weeks, but next week you want to be looking for that special episode, all right?
We're sitting on top of the story of the century here.
Coming back to you here on May, well, not from here, but we'll be coming back to you from our new digs on May 29th, all right? But there you go. But we got a show to do this evening, so we want to get through that one, right? And like I said, we've already had a little bit of fun with that, and so what that's going to do is it's going to bring us right into our big stories of the week, and 2 of them revolve around the NFL draft. Post-draft kind of chat, there have really been more than 2 stories. There have been multiple post-draft stories, but there have been 2 that have kind of dominated everything. And one kind of went right to where I was going last week when I mentioned that, well, of course, everybody's going to be sitting on the edge of their seat last Thursday night because we all wanted to know where Johnny Manziel was going to end up. That was the big story last Thursday night, and as much as I didn't want to participate in that whole charade myself, nonetheless, we all did. Come on, admit it. We all sat there as we watched one pick after another, after another, after another go by. And what is he doing? He's sitting there, and you can almost see the beads of sweat coming down off of his forehead.
You really piss me off.
It was almost kind of fun to watch it and watch him squirm. But I got to tell you, what happened was when the Eagles went and traded that 22nd pick to the Cleveland Browns, they just simply swapped their picks. Eagles got 26. Cleveland got 22nd. I announced it. Boom. Just like that. I said, watch. There goes Manziel. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. But, you know, I want to bring this up. We were going to start chit-chatting about this and throwing it around. I contend, gentlemen, that one of the reasons that we really, when I say we, I think there is a collective we here. I would love to see poll numbers done on Johnny Manziel the way that they have done for politicians and presidents. What's his popularity rating? And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Johnny Manziel is all that much liked. And he's not a likable character. And I think one of the many reasons is exactly the way that he came out on that stage last Thursday evening after his name was announced, doing the money thing. I don't know about anybody else, but I found that.
I need dough and plenty of it.
I didn't like it. What do you think? I mean, did that bother you, Psychic?
I was bothered he even went in the first round.
Well, we know Mark was.
Yeah, to be honest, you know. I mean, you know, he gets picked 22nd, but yet Jerry Rice Cake didn't even get friggin' drafted. What? Come on.
No, I'm not going to get into all that.
Please.
I don't like it. I don't like the whole. I mean, he did it on the field. I thought it was inappropriate then when he was playing for Texas A&M, and I thought it was completely inappropriate to walk out there on the stage. You're sitting there. It's obvious. I mean, this guy thought he should have been picked before Brian Bortles. Bortles rather, and make no mistake. That's what he really believed, and he comes out there doing his, you know, and that's that egotism thing that all of us, I think, as fans, true fans, we look at that and go, hey, you little punk, you're a freaking freshman, I haven't proved anything, sit in your place, shut up, and we don't want to see this nonsense.
Exactly.
Want to weigh in there, Mark?
Well, yeah, quite frankly, this guy's going to get crushed by some 300-pound outside linebacker probably in a preseason game, and they'll pick up the pieces, cart him off field, and everybody's going to wonder what the Browns did now.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, we've been saying that one. We've been saying that one really all season long. We didn't know this.
And then you got the issues with Josh Gordon now from the Browns.
Okay, right, exactly.
Now there goes his big.
Yeah, okay, but they're picking up. I'm not.
I mean, they did pick up Miles Austin.
I'm not worried. Right, I'm not worried too much.
Is not Josh Brown.
No. I agree, but I don't think that they're going to be. Listen, let me bring up a bigger story. Let me bring this one up. Jimmy Haslam, the owner now, not the general manager, not the coach, this week coming out and saying, this kid isn't going to be our starter. We're going with Hoyer. Well, now wait a minute. Back up the bus. This guy's a number 1 draft pick. Should he be the starter? And what's Haslam doing making that kind of a decision? Why is he making that announcement? Shouldn't that be your general manager? Shouldn't that be your coach? You haven't even had an OTA yet. You haven't even gone through rookie mini camps, and this guy's coming out saying he's going to be the backup.
Yeah, but you know they run that team by group committee. It's the Three Stooges.
Absolutely right.
I'm not an expert.
Come on, absolutely right.
One of the Three Stooges is now gone, okay? But nonetheless.
Okay.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The
We
one
lost
brother
Burley,
brought the
but
other
we kept
brother in.
Shemp.
Yeah.
It's not much different, really.
Farmer and the coach. There's your Three Stooges right there.
Yeah. Well, I got you on all that. But I'm just saying, you bring a guy in, somebody like Manziel, put aside what we think might be the right thing. Put that aside. Mm-hmm. Should Cleveland be starting him? This is your number 1 pick. This is a quarterback. You don't pick a quarterback number 1 every day. Isn't this the franchise guy? Aren't we going to be starting him? Why are we coming out so early saying no?
Well, I think what you do with your first-round picks, or you groom them if they don't have exactly the skill set ready to go. And I don't think it's any different in Manziel's case than, let's say, any other first-round pick when you look at the other 32 teams. It's not a guarantee that you are drafted number 1, that you're going to start and make a difference for the team that you're going to.
Yeah. But I don't think that's
maybe it is prudent to rein that in and put the kid on check, put the media on check, that, while we grab some headlines, it may or may not work. We're going to give Hoyer the pass just because, what did he have, three games experience in the NFL?
Yeah, here's my thinking of it is, you're going into training camp, okay? you've drafted your guy, you've got a guy already on the roster, okay? You say, hey, you're on the roster, you are officially the starting quarterback. We're going to go into training camp, and the starting quarterback has to be earned.
Okay.
But going in, you have to have going into training camp. Okay, you're the starter.
Right. Okay.
And I think it's a little presumptuous.
We're not at training camp. We're talking about a rookie mini camp coming up. But
right, but that's why I'm saying though, it's a little presumptuous to go into leading up to training camp saying our number 1 draft pick is going to be our starter.
Well, wait a minute. It's not different though than Chip Kelly coming into Philadelphia last year. He wouldn't name a starter. Cleveland's in the same position. They've got a brand new coach. It's not Chizlinski. He was only there for 1 year. I mean, you essentially have a lot of new things going on in Cleveland. A lot. Bortles over at Jacksonville, I would say he's probably going to start. Would that be safe to say?
They've already said Chad Henne started.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected. I mean, look, we're going to see.
I mean, there are.
We're going to see defensive and offensive players starting. You're going to see a lot of wide receivers starting.
Yeah. And that's what the whole premise of training camp is you training, and you iron out your rosters, you got your cut dates and everything like that, and then you go into preseason, and then you start your season. So, but some coaches like a Chip Kelly or some other coaches say, I'm going to take it as nobody's a starter. We're going into
I have an opportunity to see the lay of the land.
Right. And then you have others that say, okay, look, you're kind of the incumbent.
Right.
You were our starter last year, or you're on the roster. We drafted a quarterback, but going into training camp, you'll be the starter. You're all going to get tested, and the starter we start training camp with may not be the guy that we start the season with.
What's the word on Bridgewater from the standpoint of a starter? He was the other first-round pick.
In Minnesota, they don't really have anybody left, so it's kind of Christian Ponder. They've kind of given up on.
So that might actually fall by default.
Competition.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see where that one goes.
Matt Castle was their starter last year. He is now where'd he go? Texans. He's a Texan.
One more thing, though, before we get off the Manziel issue, was the report that came out today that with this minicamp, there will be a rookie minicamp that's coming up. National media, I'm assuming local media will be admitted, but national media will not be permitted and will not be invited, specifically related to, and this was, the Browns made no qualms about it. This all has to do with Manziel. They don't want a quote-unquote Tebow effect, and so they're keeping the national media away. My question I throw out there, first of all, is it good? Is it bad? Doesn't it just ultimately bring... It's ultimately going to... ultimately the spotlight's going to shift back, so all you're doing is just putting off the inevitable. But isn't this more gagging on Manziel than it is a punishment towards the media?
I don't know. I think there's a bigger story out there, quite frankly. Sure, you're going to have some people looking at Manziel, but I think there's a bigger story that we're going to cover.
And what's the bigger story when you say that? Oh, okay. We'll get to that one in a moment. I got you. Okay, I'm sorry. I got you. Uncle Mark, any comments before we move on to the bigger story?
Yeah, well, quite frankly, we pointed it out. They're down to 2 Stooges from 3, and I think they want to keep a lid on their Napoleon Dynamite, because let's be honest, that's what this kid is. We're coming out, we're flashing our money sign, we're saying we're all that, and this is a terrible, terrible franchise. There's no 2 ways around it. The Browns are terrible, and there's no reason to believe that bringing this kid in is going to make them any better than terrible. So there that is.
Wow. Okay. All right.
And just real quick to wrap up on Uncle Mark's comment. He's a quarterback. He's not the whole team.
Right.
The rest of the team basically sucks.
Yeah, but
so
let's get it straight.
It's not like
player just got suspended.
And they're
yeah, right. We don't even know when he's going to play.
It's not like we're talking about what's his name from Indy. Andrew Luck coming in.
Yeah.
Or look what happened to my guy, Bradford.
I understand what you're saying, but the quarterback, in my opinion, of all sports, is the most important position in all of sports.
Yes, absolutely.
More important than a pitcher in baseball.
Absolutely.
Okay. More important than a goalie in NHL.
A quarterback can can break your team, but I don't necessarily think, or if you have a good team and a bad quarterback, he can sink your.
The most important.
Peyton Manning.
Well, no, okay, yeah, but no, you're saying you don't have to be. I know, I got it. You don't have to be, the greatest quarterback. Joe Flacco just showed us that, if you ask me.
Right.
A couple of years ago.
You can have an awesome team around you and have a mediocre quarterback and do well. You can also have a really good team and a sucky quarterback, and that quarterback can kill your team.
Yeah.
But you can have a sucky team and a really good quarterback and still suck.
Yes. All right. I got it. Okay. All right. Well, obviously, look, I think what we've done here is we've become a microcosm of exactly what Manziel is going to be all season long. And that is, whether you want it to, or anybody wants it to be this way or not, unfortunately, I think he is going to become a bit of Tim Tebow. At least from the standpoint of, as Uncle Mark likes to say, pitch in the tent issues, the circus thing. It's going to happen.
Actually, to be honest, I kind of more liken him to the T.O. effect.
Well,
than a Tim Tebow.
T.O. at least had some accomplishment behind him, right? I was going to say that. He could at least walk the walk a little bit. Yeah. This guy hasn't walked the walk. He hasn't done anything. So, this guy is like Tebow from the standpoint that all of a sudden he's walking into the league and suddenly he is polarizing the league immediately. Mm-hmm. So, all right, well, hey, you got to know it's going to be fun as we go through the summer and as we get closer and closer into OTAs and into minicamps. You got to know.
I can't wait to see him get playing.
All right, let's get over to that other big story, though. And the other big story, it goes back to the draft, but boy, oh boy, this one was really late.
Yeah.
We waited and waited and waited and waited. Well, listen, can I be honest with you? I wasn't waiting at all. But it finally happened Saturday afternoon, 7th round of the draft, 249th overall pick out of 256. Think about that for a moment. Just 8 picks more, and we're finished. The whole draft is done. Michael Sam, defensive end from SEC's Mizzou, and the NFL's first openly gay athlete, was selected by the St. Louis Rams. I brought this up pre-show, gentlemen. I got to be honest. I was tracking the draft. I was probably the only one really at Frat House Sports that was following it as religiously as I was.
I think you just became my personal hero.
I completely forgot about Michael Sam. Completely. And in fact, wasn't even reminded about Michael Sam until the very minute his name was called. And then everybody's coming back going, oh yeah, he was the guy that, boom. I had completely forgotten about it. And so the first question I throw out there is, would the NFL had been held accountable had the entire NFL just forgotten about him? And then the second question I got to throw out there is one really more for your Rams there, sidekick, and that is, did they actually place more pressure on themselves by taking Michael Sam now and making sure now that a 7th round draft pick really has to have a roster spot? Your thoughts?
Well, I didn't forget about Michael Sam, but then I followed Mizzou much more during the season.
Right.
And that's so, I know, before, with going through the whole the bowl games and stuff like that, I knew about Michael Sam. It wasn't until afterwards that he actually.
Well, you didn't know. I was going to say you didn't know about that.
He came out after that.
Right.
But so I did not forget about him as far as going through the draft. I was wondering if he was going to go at all in the draft. Now, as far as the Rams picking him up, I don't like the fact that the Rams picked him up. Mm-hmm. And it's the same reason we talked about probably two or 3 years ago. When the Rams had a losing record, they're going into the last game of the season against Seattle. They beat Seattle. They go into the playoffs with a losing record. Okay, now we know they lost to Seattle. Seattle went in with the winning record. But I said at that time, you'd ask me, do you want I can't remember the exact phrasing. Was it, do you want to see the Rams in the playoffs, or what do you think of the Rams in the playoffs with a losing record? And I said, I don't want them in the playoffs because I don't want the press.
Right.
I don't want all the negative press, all the attention drawn on these young kids going into the playoffs with a losing record and having to deal with that on top of dealing with the pressure of the playoffs.
Right.
So I said, I'd rather them lose, come back next year, get into the playoffs, winning record. They've got some experience. The same thing goes for Michael Sam. I don't like the fact that the Rams picked him up because of the media circus that now is going to follow him. If the Tim Tebow effect flat tag is going to be hung on anybody, it's going to be Mike Sam. They announced today he's got a show on Oprah now.
Yep.
He's the only guy in the last round of the draft with a camera team at his house.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Well, okay, but we'll get to that one in a moment. But let me ask you a question. Do you think that the Tim Tebow effect, as we keep now talking about, and this is the second story in a row now, we're talking about the Tim Tebow effect. Do you think it's going to be greater on Sam than it could be, would be, should be on Manziel? And, well, answer that question, then I might follow it up. But, all right, you do.
I think the pressure is going to be much more on Mike Sam than Johnny Manziel.
But isn't the Sam issue more controllable from the standpoint that, hell, he's a 7th-round pick. Just get rid of him, cut him. Manziel, you can't go cutting a first-round draft pick. So in some respects, the Browns have got to live with Manziel. The Rams don't have to live with Sam.
No, but they potentially have to live with the fallout of Sam.
Right. Okay. Good point. Good point. Mark, jump in.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I see it the reverse. I think what they're going to do with Michael Sam is if Michael Sam doesn't make the cut, they're going to probably put him on as a practice squad player, and they're going to carry him until, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Maybe they need him, maybe they don't, until quietly he just fades away. Because I tend to agree with Sidekick. What's happened here is he's come in riding a media circus that I don't know that St. Louis was fully prepared or was clearly thinking about when they decided, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to draft this guy. On the other side, a guy like Manziel, I'm flashing it, man. I'm flashing it. Oh, no, you suck. We're going to cut you. And you know what? We're going to take our cut. The first round or not, I remember a kid named Matt Leinart did the same thing out in Arizona, and it didn't take long before they gave him the kick to the curb, and he's been kicked to like 2 or 3 other teams since. And where is he now? He's playing pinball with the Stars. Okay?
Yep.
So in a funny way, I almost see it on the reverse side. Michael Sam, maybe out of respect because of some of the additional media, might actually get sort of a smoother ride.
Well, okay. Now, what was my point I was going to make here? All right, let me move on to the next issue that I had with the whole Michael Sam thing, and you brought it up. You kind of brought it up briefly, and that was the fact that there were cameras on a 7th-round draft pick. There were no cameras on a 7th-round draft pick of any nature before. There was none on anybody in the 6th round, and then lo and behold, the announcement comes through. He's on the phone, tears are welling from his eyes, and then we get. I'll just put it this way, we get the kiss. There were a lot of people that were offended. There were a lot of people that spoke out about it. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of people that thought, and when you take a look at this, and you start to tie it in with many of the things, Sidekick, that you're bringing up, the Oprah show. You brought up pre-show that some of the Rams players are already a bit disgruntled with him. Over all the brouhaha that's going on, all of this. Was this necessary? Was this a put on? Is this all just exploitation at this point? We're not talking about sports. We're not talking about athleticism. We're not talking about a guy really and truly that even deserves to be here. We're talking simply about a social issue that we're like wrapping in the sports wrapping paper. That's what we're doing.
Right. And that's the whole. But that's the whole thing. Regardless of where you come down on any of the issue, right? Socially, crap. Now it just left my brain.
All right, let me.
Let me see if I can get it.
Terrible mistake.
Never mind.
All right, what about this? What was your feeling about this?
I don't agree with this necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't, and I've seen some people tweeting and some other things where they say, well, they show this guy kissing his girlfriend when he gets drafted. I don't want any of that.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's acceptable. I agree with you. I got you.
We're talking about getting drafted. It's sports. I don't want, there's no PDAs.
Yeah, I got
goodness, what a picture making.
Okay, I think I'm cool with that. Right.
This isn't get up on the stage. I can do without the money signs.
Yep.
But
Well, and here's where when I say that, if I were to come out and say right now, hey, I took offense to this, people are going to say, oh, you got a problem with this. No, here's where I go with offense to it. He was the only 7th rounder that did it. This is not about sports. This is about exploitation. That's what we're doing here, and that's where I got a problem with it. Uncle Mark, jump in.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is I don't really see a great deal of difference between Manziel or Michael Sam from the same standpoint of designation. Are you qualified to play the game? The bottom line is on-field results tell everything. If you have qualified to make it to an NFL level at this point and you're going to now try to promote your career forward, your talents on the field are all that matter to me. I am strictly mercenary, whether I'm an owner, whether I'm a coach, whether I am a fan. I don't care if you spin on your top and turn blue.
Right.
As your own lifestyle issue, that is immaterial to me. And if you do, and you're a winner, so be it. If you don't, but you're a winner, so be it. All of the other is it's theatrics.
Some would say, though, then what we're doing is we are actually promoting the don't speak, don't tell concept, that we had years ago in the service before. Who was it? Was it Bill Clinton that came in?
Well,
and eliminated that. So that what we're actually doing is we are feeding the negativism of that whole society. And I completely disagree with that. I concur with you 100%, Mark. To me,
well, my thing
sports,
is why are we necessarily promoting it?
Some would say we're not promoting it at all. We're bringing awareness. See, suddenly we have to get PC.
Okay.
Suddenly it's PC.
I'm sorry. Let me use a different word.
I hear you, gentlemen. I hear you. I think that's what.
Ultimately, here's where it comes down. As a Rams fan, okay, Michael Sam, son, welcome to the Rams. Welcome to the St. Louis Rams of St. Louis, Missouri. Missouri's motto is show me.
Right.
So
awesome.
You better bring it, kid. Otherwise, you're going to be finding another job.
Yep. Absolutely
I said the same thing about Sam Bradford. When he came in, I'm not on the Bradford train until he shows me.
Good job.
So, welcome to the Rams.
You get nothing.
Show me you deserve to be here.
You lose.
I don't
Good
care about
day,
your
sir.
stupid documentary or any of that. I care that you make plays. I want to see you play like James Laurinaitis. I want to see you play like Chris Long. I want to see you play like Steven Jackson, Marshall Faulk, Kurt Warner,
whomever,
Torrey Holt, Bruce, Aeneas Williams. Then I will call you a Ram.
There you go.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right, dude.
Final say. There you go. Let's move on to our third story. We've spent a lot of time on the first two. This one we might not as much. But we only get to talk horse racing, but once a year. Once a year here. And it is something that I do enjoy. We got the 39th running of the Preakness at Pimlico down in one of our favorite cities, down in Baltimore this coming weekend. And the Preakness, interesting because it's become, well, it's not become, it is the second race of the Triple Crown, just by virtue of being the second, not the third, not the first. Well, it always leads to all the speculation about, oh, could we, should we, will we have a Triple Crown winner? And let's go back in time for just a moment, because it's been 36 years, I believe, since we had a Triple Crown winner. That was 1978 with Affirmed, 36 years ago. Now, incredibly, just get these stats and let this sink in for a minute. Affirmed was 78, but Seattle Slew was immediately the year before that. That was 1977. So in fact, we had 2 Triple Crown winners in a row. All right, but then you throw in Secretariat in 1973, and we actually had 3 within 6 years. Now just consider for a moment, there have only been 11 Triple Crown winners since 1919. So for some reason or another, when you get to that second race, the Preakness, it is always so much fun to just sit there and say, hey, could we possibly have a Triple Crown winner? And yet when you think about it, 3 within 6, and now we're going on a 36-year dry spell. No Triple Crown winner at all. California Chrome won the Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago. And so now everybody is looking at California Chrome. Could that be the horse that will carry the mantle, finally, after 36 years, to a Triple Crown? And it's interesting because I'm going to throw a question out there, and I've got a theory on this one. And we'll see how far it goes for a moment. Right now, the California Chrome is the odds-on favorite. You're hearing phrases like prohibitive favorite to win the Preakness. Right now, the odds-on California Chrome 3-5 favorite. The nearest is Social Inclusion. They're second on the betting board at 5-1. All right, so yeah, 3-5, 5-1. I would say that's a prohibitive favorite. Question though. Does just by virtue of winning the Kentucky Derby make you the prohibitive favorite? In other words, is there no logic involved in all of this at all? When we sit down on a Sunday afternoon and we start looking at odds, what's the line on a football game? Those odds makers out in Vegas, they put some thought into that. They take a look at injuries. They take a look at what are the offensive numbers? What are the defensive numbers? What's the opponent look like? To me, with horse racing, it seems like it's, they won the Kentucky Derby. They got to be the favorite going into Preakness. Yes, no, what?
Well, actually,
There seems to be no sign of intelligent life in it.
Do you have a gambling addiction or something? You are so animated talking about the Triple Crown.
I like horse racing. I do like
you're like a kid in a candy store, dude.
I will admit it.
I'm sorry. You're like, he's John's own favorite. I can't contain myself.
But it doesn't. You don't get juiced over this the way I do.
Good luck, show boy.
Seriously, do you need a moment?
No, I'm good. I want everybody to get as juiced about it as I am.
You're apparently you're juiced. Oh man.
Anyhow,
you're just like Jose Canseco. Anyway,
am I the only one sitting here on this one? I guess I'm the only one riding this horse.
You're riding something. Got a little crop fetish to you?
Go ahead, go. Fill in. Everybody jump in on the Preakness. What do we think?
Well, I got the horse right here. His name is Paul Revere, and there's a guy that says if the weather's clear, can do.
No,
this guy says the horse can do. So that's who I'm going with.
I almost think you have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than winning the Triple Crown at times.
Well, 11 since 1919. You're talking 11 in almost 100 years.
Yeah. Because we got close. What was the?
We had a close one, 2012. 2012, and then they had to back out. What was the name of the horse? And they had to back out in the Belmont. Smarty Jones. No, it wasn't Smarty Jones.
No, it was.
Yeah, it was just 2 years ago. We were talking about it 2 years ago right here on the show.
Barbarella.
No, that one died. I know all my horses.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
2012.
All the talk was about.
Well, 2012, we had one going into Belmont, and they pulled the horse out at the very last minute, the day before, because of a potential fracture in the ankle. They had picked up a hairline fracture, and they didn't want to run the risk. So you had one there. But, I was thinking about it, Sidekick. You are absolutely right. When we talk about, and we've talked about it a lot here in Philadelphia, what the dry spell is on championships. Forget the Chicago Cubs, because that's just nobody's
touching that one.
That's almost an anomaly. But the bottom line is, winning the Triple Crown is it's almost worse than some teams going through droughts with championships. when you take a look at how difficult it truly is to do. And people talk about, oh, the Super Bowl is so difficult to win. The World Series is so difficult to win. Hey, come on. The darndest thing to do is win a Triple Crown. It seems to me. Who do you got? You got somebody?
I'll have another.
I'll have another was the 2012. Thank you very much. A researcher.
I think Uncle Mark will. We'll have another, right, Uncle Mark?
I'll have another. Yeah, you gotta love the last show here at Frat House. I gotta tell you.
Something screwy around here.
Listen, the degenerate gambler that I am, I will take a bet right now. I have a sneaky suspicion everybody jumps on the Kentucky Derby winner. As much as I would love to see California Chrome do it, I don't think if I'm betting, I'm going that way. You want to take a shot at it? Uncle Mark, you want to take a shot at it?
I'd rather bet.
Oh, you already put your pick in, right? You got
I'm going with Paul Revere.
You got Paul Revere's horse.
I got it from a handicapper that's real sincere. Can do.
All right, there's our top stories for this week. I had to get a little horse racing again because it'll be a year before I can do it again. And I'll probably be as animated as I was next year at this time.
You play to win the game.
Maybe though we'll be talking about it in a couple of weeks as the Belmont, because maybe California Chrome will advance.
You know what kind of threw me off, or I was a little surprised at, was the Throwback Thursday prior to the Derby. You didn't put the picture of you and me racing.
Yeah, when we were down there at Churchill Downs.
Yeah,
because we were there. You're right. I should have done that. Why did you? All right. Well, we'll remember that for the future.
I can't do everything for you.
Boy. All right, let's move on. And let's go over and take a look at the NHL. Yes, there is hockey still going on.
Not my world.
As I mentioned last week, 3 out of 4 of the NHL Round 2 playoff series have concluded now. But there's still actually one remaining. I had actually said that last week. I said, hey, is this second round going to go faster? And I said, I think we're really going to have a few that are going to be concluded. Well, 3 out of 4 of them are. One is still going on. And to get all that info means we got to get to our hat trick segment for the evening. And all right, so there we go. A couple of surprises. We got a couple of surprises over in the East. As we got 2 number ones are out of the playoffs completely. I think this is going to come. This comes really as a little bit of a surprise. We got a number 3 seed in the Montreal Canadiens that knocked off the Boston Bruins last night. That series went to 7 games. Who'd have thunk this one? Boston is out of there. Boston, I think, and we're going to get Uncle Mark in here in a moment, but I think Boston was pretty much considered to be one of the favorites, absolutely one of the favorite, a prohibitive favorite, to win the Stanley Cup this year. Over on the other side, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the number 1 seed, knocked off by the number 2 seed, New York Rangers. That series went to 7 games. Rangers pulled that one off 4 games to 3. Over in the West, 1 series concluded out there. Not too much surprised here. The Chicago Blackhawks, number 3 seed, did take care of the Minnesota Wild 4 games to 2. But down here, we've got this LA Kings and Anaheim Ducks series going. The Kings, that plucky Kings team, my goodness, they have fought it back to a 3-3 series. After coming back, we talked about them last week. We talked about them the week before. This team just won't go away, huh, Uncle Mark?
Yeah, it's funny. We've got another Game 7, boys, and Anaheim is yet to dispense with that LA Kings team that just seems to be a chronic plague to opponents. Quick flashback, back in 2012 when they won their Stanley Cup, the Kings endured no key injuries. They jumped out to 3 games to 0 series leads in all 4 of the 4 rounds that they played, and they never trailed despite being the road team throughout. They seemed to cruise all the way to the Cup. Well, last year they met adversity and they fell behind. At St. Louis, they were down 2 games to 0 before vanquishing the Blues. Afterwards, they completed a terribly grueling 7-game series versus San Jose. Ultimately, Los Angeles had very little left against Chicago in a conference final. Well, thus far, it seems to be playing out in a very similar fashion. It took 7 brutal games to surpass San Jose in round 1. It's going to a 7-game now versus Anaheim in round 2. And should they prevail, LA will once again meet up with Chicago for the conference title. and their next shot, hopefully, at a Stanley Cup for them. Adversity in the NHL postseason clearly is king.
Yep.
They were down, but clearly not out in round 1 versus the Shark, facing elimination in game 4 and behind in this series 3-0. To open this series that we're in now, LA took charge and led this series actually by the first 2 games, winning both in Anaheim. What did the Ducks do? Well, they did what they've done only all year long. They adjusted. By the end of game 5, leading round 2, 3-2 at that point, it was justifiable to believe the Ducks would close it out in LA for that game 6 win. Well, maybe not. Through 6 games, the team has scored first in this series has gone on to win. Neither team has shown great ability to come from behind on the score sheet in those games, and each team's comfort level seems to increase when they're holding the lead. Home ice hasn't meant a great deal in the series. LA won the first 2 in Anaheim. The Ducks got even, and they won games 3 and 4 at the Staples Center. And of course, each team gave their own home crowd a victory in games 5 and 6. Rookie goalies don't necessarily melt, and it's not Boulder Dash. Since taking over in the pipes for Anaheim 3 games ago, John Gibson has posted 2 wins, one of which was a shutout versus LA. He's turned away 93 of 98 shots, and he's sporting a .946 percentage and a 1.68 GAA. So heroics might be just the name of the game. Jonathan Quick really hasn't come into the conversation until last night's heroics to keep them alive.
Now, over in the East, we do know exactly what that conference final is going to look like now with those series being finished up. And it's an interesting thing. What we're looking at is we're looking at the Montreal Canadiens taking on the New York Rangers. New York Rangers, actually, I believe, are going to have home ice advantage in that one. And it's an interesting pairing because it kind of leads me to a question I'm going to throw at you right now, and you can answer it, I guess, as you go through your analysis here on this one. But you know, I think many of us kind of thought, well, Boston and or Pittsburgh will be there. Now, with it being Montreal, the Rangers, does this leave the NHL up for grabs?
Yeah, this is a real fun series. You're talking about a series that features 2 original 6 teams, and you're right, nobody expected Boston or Pittsburgh Penguins not to be in it right here. But at the same time, it does match up to be quite a bit of fun. Montreal last won a cup in 1992-93, and the Rangers last won their cup, how about the very next year in 1993 and 94. It matches up 2 Sochi Olympic game goaltenders in Carey Price, who won the gold for Canada, and, of course, Henrik Lundqvist, who won the silver for Sweden. It also showcases 2, as you say, Frat House Mike, underdog teams. They both needed 7 games to advance to this round, past Boston and Pittsburgh, respectively, and doing so in come-from-behind fashion, with the Canadiens having to win games 6 and 7, and the Rangers requiring a win for games 5, 6, and 7. Now, during the regular season, the 2 interconference teams met 3 times was all, but all games ended in shutout. Montreal won 2-0 in October, the Rangers' home opener, and the season-ending game on April 12, again in New York, 1-0 in overtime. The Rangers won 1-0 at the Bell Center in November. Now, Price was in goal for the loss in November and the win in April. Lundqvist, however, was only in goal for the home loss for the Rangers in October. Having a real quick by-the-numbers look, Lundqvist is 13-11-2 lifetime versus the Canadiens. He's struggled in games at the Habs barn. He's only got a record of 4-5-2. And he'll be appearing in Game 1 of the conference finals for the first time since January of 2012. His last victory in Montreal was a 4-3 shootout. That goes back to 2009, and his last regulation win was in February of 2008 by a score of 5-3. So there's a lot of history for King Hendrik to overcome. For his part, Carey Price has been 8-5-1 against New York, 5 of the wins being shutouts. Absolutely. That's pretty tremendous by itself. The most recent shutout being in April. Now, that traded centerman and former captain Ryan Callahan was the only Ranger to tally a score in the 3-game regular campaign against the Habs that we've just completed. Brian Giunta, however, for the Canadiens, still remains there, and he also has a game-winning goal. Historically, Montreal has the edge over New York in the records of over 500 games played. We're talking original 6. In the playoffs, however, the records match up a little more favorably for the Rangers, with each team managing 7 playoff series wins in their 14 total postseason series rivals. The last time that the Rangers really won was 1996, and friends, that was a very, very long time ago. Final thought on this series. Montreal has played 11 postseason games thus far. That's the fewest of all the teams in the Stanley Cup hunt. And they've scored 36 goals. That's the second most. The Rangers have 34 total goals scored, and they have played 14 games to date.
Yep. And that series kicks up on Saturday, actually. So
that is correct.
And then just real quick, over in the West, we know it's going to be Chicago. How's Chicago? What's your thinking? Chicago, Anaheim, Chicago, who am I missing? LA. Seems to me Anaheim might be the better mix here, wouldn't it?
Well, I'll be honest, Frat House Mike, whether the Ducks or the Kings, Chicago's next opponent faces the most complete team remaining in the Stanley Cup quest, in my opinion. Chicago has the superstars, Taves, Kane, Sharp, Hossa, Seabrook, Brookbank, Crawford. Chicago has the winning pedigree. Since 2009, try on this stat just for fun. The Blackhawks are 14-0 in games after series that have been tied 2-2. And they have done so 7 consecutive times, including most recently against St. Louis and Minnesota just this year. And Chicago has the head coach. Joel Quenneville is unafraid to bench any player who is not producing. He remains confident in line and defense juggling, and he's loud and proud in making tough decisions and sending messages. The possible scenarios, you're right, Mike. In Chicago Kings, I believe the series somewhat resembles the Blackhawks Blues of round 1. Both teams know each other very well. Both teams play with the lead confidently. I wouldn't be surprised to see either team or both win a couple games in a row. And there will probably be some bad blood, a la the Seabrook-Backus fracas from round 1. In the Blackhawks-Anaheim series, I believe the series will be more closely in profile to what Chicago just finished up with the Wild.
Yep. The
Ducks are sporting a young phenom in the pipes with John Gibson. He's sort of a la Brizgalov, who finally kind of came into his own for the 6 games that he did start for Minnesota. Anaheim possesses an aggressive forecheck, the ability to play away from the puck, springing snipers and odd man rushes, and Chicago will be forced to respect Anaheim's potent power play, most especially that old Finnish flash guy named Timo Solani.
Yep.
Now, Game 1 of the Western Conference Final is set to begin Sunday, okay? The East begins on Saturday. The West should begin on Sunday at 3 p.m. Based on regular season points, Anaheim will host Chicago should they prevail, or Chicago will host L.A. if L.A. comes out of this series.
Right.
An original 6, final thought, original 6 Stanley Cup final could be in the offing should Chicago win the West, because certainly we've got an original 6 coming out of the East.
Yep, you got it. All right, well, and when we come back to you 2 weeks from now, we're going to know what the Stanley Cup finals are looking like at that point, because it will be 2 weeks, remember, when we come back to you this way. All right.
Absolutely right.
All right, there you go. There's our NHL report for this week. Let's go over and, let's run around Major League Baseball. Hard to believe that we are already at the 1/4 mark.
It's time again for
season.
Frat House Mike's Screwball Stories.
Yep, that brings up our Screwball Stories, brought to you by our friends over at CLW 83, where you can catch Jim's Touchball program, and make sure you're checking that out because he's doing a new one this evening. We got some screwy stories.
Did he try to get you on that show?
Yeah, always, yeah. They're doing that one tonight. Of course, here we are. We're doing our last one from Frat House 1. Yeah, did he try to get you? Of course, yeah, probably. Yeah, no? No? Oh. Jim, what's the problem?
Because all I do is talk about Cardinals.
Oh, you're one of those.
Yeah.
I think the whole crew's made up of one of those, aren't they?
Yeah.
I'm the only one that comes in there with any. Oh. All right, listen.
I did break that Cocoa Crisp.
Oh yeah, I know you did. I remember that.
Chia Pet head story.
Let's get into our screwy stories. Listen, the first one here, gentlemen, actually isn't all that screwy. It's actually, to me, it's actually a little bit more alarming. With the hard-throwing Miami Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez going on the DL the other day, requiring Tommy John surgery, it marked the 33rd Tommy John injury already just this season. Now, you compare that, there were 36. This is the 33rd, all right, the other night. There were 36 in all of 2011, 49 last season. It has been suggested that if the stats are extrapolated throughout the entire season, 2014 could see an all-time high of potentially over 130 injuries.
Wow, that Tommy John's really freaking busy, isn't he?
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. I'm connected with him on LinkedIn, by the way. Tommy John, the actual Tommy John, yes.
Wow.
Some have speculated that this has something to do with the fact that there are actually more pitchers who are firing hard in the high 90s to near 100 mile per hour range. Others are actually blaming youth sports. In many respects, for me personally, this is becoming somewhat alarming, particularly when you go down to the youth sports level, simply because I'm starting to wonder whether we're going to start to make a liken to it to the head injury issue and head trauma issue in football. I'm concerned that it could begin to affect little leagues and then upwards from there, all right? Believe it or not, I don't know if you've seen any of these, but there have actually been some reports of young teenagers in little leagues and in other, in VFW leagues and what have you, going and requesting Tommy John surgery in anticipation of needing it. Thoughts on all of this? What do you think is causing this? Obviously, there's got to be something going on. Some are asking right now that Major League Baseball pull together a commission of physicians to sit down and look at what is going on and why is this exploding out of control. Any thoughts? But you're our PT guy. You're our physical guy.
I know. See, but I don't view this in the same vein as concussions.
Well, no, obviously, but
okay, obviously you've got all those, parents at the, down, trying to live their dream through their kids, and trying to push their kids and doing these outlandish, stupid things, to try and get their kid, to be the next,
right? Get them the leg up, kind of thing.
But do we need to look in at? Sure, but well, I don't see where it's going to affect youth sports like concussions.
Well, no, maybe not in the same respect, but I'm because obviously in something like that, what we've been concerned about is parents actually saying, no, you can't play that sport. And I don't know if this has gotten to that level where parents are actually going to say, no, you can't play this because you might, blow out your elbow. I don't think it's that. But I'm just saying, could there be some sort of long-term effect on our youth sports that, go play chess instead of,
No, I don't think. Sure, there's going to be some parents that are going to be overly protective, be like, no, I don't want my kid blowing out his elbow in school.
Yeah.
There's always, there's the same parents that I don't want you playing football. You might get hurt.
Well, you might be right.
Or I don't want you playing youth sports at all because I don't want you to get hurt.
Obviously, it seems to me that there is something going on in Major League Baseball, or at least in baseball, to see these kinds of numbers rapidly increasing like this.
I do think we need to take a look at the circumstances, have some studies run, try and figure out why this is.
Yeah.
Is it a training issue? Is it a conditioning issue? What potentially is causing this? And can we take that from the pro level and adapt that to the youth level to maybe train the kids better to prevent these kind of injuries along the path?
Bingo. Yeah. I think something's got to be done in that respect. I think you got it right. Right. There you go.
Yes, I am I'm all about, behind looking at the issue and trying to see if there's something that can be done to curb it.
Right.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right, let's go take a look at the Atlanta Braves real quick. They are scheduled to get themselves a new ballpark in 2017 in Cobb County, Georgia. And yesterday, the Atlanta Constitution released these artist renderings of what the new ballpark will actually look like, holding over 41,000, an estimated 41,000 people, and a cost of over $670 million in order to construct. Now, I got to be honest, I was really impressed with the ballpark. There were a couple of things I really liked about it. I really liked the enclosed overhang on the top bowl. I thought that was very nice because, well, you know, that protects the folks from the inclement weather. I thought that was very, very nice. But I gotta be honest, the thing that I was most impressed with were the artist renderings of fans. Look at all of these fans
terrible mistake
in Atlanta. God knows the only way you're going to get that many is if an artist actually sits there and draws them.
I was going to say, because those are some empty seats. That stadium's pretty damn empty. That whole section's empty. Look
what
at
I saw too.
There's a couple people right here. That whole section is empty except for this group of people right here.
I think that's a popcorn vendor you're pointing at there.
Maybe that's why they're there. I don't know.
All right. Let's go on to the...
it still looks better than National Stadium.
Oh, boy. All right, let's move on to the next one, and that's, I personally, I truly appreciate the old school kind of play hard attitude of some of the more recent baseball icons who are now kind of managers and that sort of thing in baseball. People like Ryan Sandberg, Larry Boa. Oh, how about Matt Williams and Kirk Gibson? Many of you might remember the brawl that broke out last June between the Arizona Diamondbacks and Los Angeles Dodgers, which featured, yes, that's Mark McGwire and Matt Williams wrestling, while managers Kirk Gibson and Don Mattingly engaged in a shouting match. Now Williams is the manager of the Washington Nationals, and the other evening, following the exchange of lineup cards at home plate with the Diamondbacks manager Kirk Gibson, well, both of them immediately turned after handing off their lineup cards, and it was pre-planned. They had themselves a personal foot race back to their respective dugouts. Listen, forget the Preakness, okay? Gibson was a 3-5 favorite. I got the betting down on this one. A 3-5 favorite himself. He won this one.
Gibson won?
Gibson won that. It was the fastest 18 seconds in sports. Right there. It was, and if you want to see the video, all you got to do is go over to our Facebook.
I was going to say, because I thought he was juicing. If you go back to if you go back to the previous picture, look, what'd you do with my needle, man?
That's McGuire.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
He ain't running. He ain't running nowhere. Trust me.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Dude, you got my needles.
All right. If you want to see that video, it's over on Facebook. Get to our Frat House Sports Facebook page. Give us a like. All right, let's take a look at the, real quick, AL and NL standings right now at the quarter mark of the season. The Orioles right now currently lead the East a half game in front of the Red Sox and the Yankees. The Detroit Tigers right now 5.5 games in front of the Royals, and the A's are 3 games in front of the Angels. Over in the East, the Braves leading the East right now, no longer the Marlins. They're...
they got
Tommy John surgery, right? They're leading in the East, a game and a half in front of the Nationals, and the Brewers are 5 in front of your Cardinals. Giants right now 3.5 in front of the Rockies. All right, there's our baseball report for this week at Frat House 1, brought to you by our friends over at CLW83.com. Get over and check them out. All right, let's jump into real quick. We're going to do a dual motorsports report this evening. All right, we're going to run through things real quick, and you'll find out why in a moment. As usual, brought to you by our friends down in Baltimore at Herb FM Sports Radio, herbfm.com. All right, get over there and check them out. I'm sure that they're going to thoroughly enjoy our production here this evening from Frat House 1, our last one from Frat House 1. I'm sure they're going to enjoy this. But let's take a look at what the results were in NASCAR. We'll start there. 11th race of the season this past week. Saturday night, actually, down in Kansas, out in Kansas, where Jeff Gordon got his first win of the season. Others who came in the top 5 included, well, there's Gordon.
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Starting from the pole, he came in second. Casey Kane came in third. Joey Logano again, another top 5, getting fourth. And how about Dale Earnhardt Jr. again, getting another top 5? That's his 6th of the season, came in 5th. Danica Patrick came in 7th. How about that?
Yeah, and because she came in 7th, right. I went on her website and ordered her fan shirt. Look,
is that hers?
This is her fan shirt, straight from her trailer.
There, you can get that.
Yep. Cool story, babe. Now make me a sandwich.
Danica's a driver.com.
Yeah.
Danica's a driver.com. All right, go out to that website. You'll be able to find this shirt. Hate mails are coming.
Here it comes.
Oh, yeah.
That's sidekick.
You are a meat.
Oh, boy. All right, let's go over.
Here come the douchebag comments.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Let's go over and check out our leaderboard in NASCAR. Jeff Gordon with that win. He shot all the way up to the top of the leaderboard. He's now in 3rd place again, simply because of the fact he only has that one win. But take a look at if we were still counting in points, he would be at the very top. 394, 373 for Kyle, 368 for Dale. Our 2 leaders aren't anywhere near that in numbers. It's starting to show that the numbers actually are really pointing out the consistency thing that you've talked about for so many years right here on this program. Consistency still does obviously matter in NASCAR.
I mean, sure, it helps to get your wins point-wise, but it's running top 5 every week.
Absolutely. And if you see it, I mean, Harvick might be sitting up there at the top, but really at 302 and only 3 top 5s, you start to sit there and go, huh? Really? Or is he a better driver really than, say, a Jeff Gordon or a Dale? But anyhow, that's why we run them every week. Yep. But we're not running one this week. No regular season race this weekend, but it doesn't mean we don't have racing. It's All-Star Weekend already. Can you believe it? Yes. Friday night, we have the Sprint Showdown at Charlotte Motor Speedway at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the All-Star Race is 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch both events on Fox Sports 1 this week. Fox Sports 1, all right?
Not Frat House Sports 1?
No, not yet. Maybe after we move and get into the new studio.
Then it'll be FS2, right?
I think you just became my personal hero.
FHS. But as a result, but because there's no season race, there's no fantasy picks for this week from Sidekick.
Darn.
You didn't have them ready anyhow, did you? Now, listen, I've mentioned numerous times, there's no regular show for us this week, but there will be a show. But it'll be a pre-show. It'll be one of our compilation shows. You got to check it out. But if you want Sidekick's famous, infamous, fantastic fantasy picks, you got to get. Go what?
Let me call an audible here.
Go.
Omaha.
Okay.
Tune in. What I'll do for next week's picks.
You're going to video it?
No. Tune in to FratHouseSports.net, and there will be a video posted of Sidekick doing the picks.
You better have it to me.
But it will be on FratHouseSports.net.
Well, you better have it to me then. Okay. All right. You heard it from his mouth. Also, here's the other thing. As a backup, go to our Facebook page on Saturday, and it'll be there. Not this Saturday, the following Saturday, and you will have Sidekick's famous, always right.
Well, your head ain't made of straw, you know.
There's a reason I'm leading.
All right, but let's take a look real quick at our fantasy standings. And there you go. Yeah, didn't I say it? You want this guy's picks. All right, 5th down there. Team Blood Pack. 7th down there. All right, we got our technical director. I'm about ready, as I mentioned last week, to drop off the board because I just keep sucking every week. But I got to give a special shout out. Got to give a special shout out because I promised I would because he was doing a little whining at me the other day. Got to give a shout out to Greg, Nick's Ass Wagon, coming in right now at number 2. Greg's down there in Texas. Good job, Greg. I give it to you. Hey, who is Nick the Ass Wagon for? How about our 3rd place person? Yeah, right there. All right, Sexy Sooner. So, you know, I give it to you. Greg. To be 2nd.
He's got a couple wins, though.
He sure does. So,
which I don't.
All right.
None of my teams have actually won a race.
So, in the real NASCAR standings, you'd be sucking.
Yeah, I would be.
All right.
I'd be relegated.
All right, let's go do our second part of our motorsports, our dual motorsports report. And we got to send a little love out to some, one of our favorites we haven't looked at in quite a while, quite a few weeks, NHRA. The Hot Rods do have a national heat going this week, and that's going to be at the Southern Nationals and Atlanta. So while NASCAR might be off from regular season, NHRA is going. You can catch that action over the weekend, probably over on ESPN2. This is already NHRA's 7th national heat. Hard to believe. So it's been a while, but let's go take a look at the leaderboard there. And over in the Top Fuel division, 2012 champion and DSR driver Antron Brown currently leading the pack, 37 points ahead of Doug Coletta. Over in the funny car category, JFR's Robert Height, 122 points ahead of his boss, John Force. But here's the real story, in my opinion. Alexis DeJoria right now holding the 3rd spot, just 178 points out of the lead. Over in the Pro Stock division, this is a great feel-good story. Here, Erica Enders-Stevens right now currently leading the entire group, 77 points ahead of Alan Johnson. Erica missed half of the season last year when her car from Cagnazzi Racing ran out of money and she had no sponsorship at all. Nonetheless, though, Erica ended up in 6th place in the Pro Stock Championship at the end of the season last year. This year right now with Elite Motorsports, she currently leading all. And from us here at Frat House Sports, congrats, Erica. Keep that up. Keep winning. All right?
I'm an excellent driver.
All right, there you go. There's our Dual Motorsports report for this week, brought to you by Herb FM Sports Radio. HerbFM.com. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, folks down there in Baltimore. All right. We're going to throw a little more quick love to a sport we really have not paid attention to, and honestly, I'm going to be honest. I feel a little bit guilty about it because they are in the playoffs, and that's the NBA. Yes, we haven't looked at round ball, and they are now finishing up their 2nd round of the playoffs. So before we get out of here, let's go take a look at where those playoffs stand. In the East, the Miami Heat advanced past the Brooklyn Nets last evening, 4-1. And despite the fact that series might appear to be lopsided, I'm going to tell you right now, you got to give a big shout out to the Brooklyn Nets for hanging in there tough, getting to the 2nd round. Who'd have thunk it? The Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, seriously, of all. But now you've got the Miami Heat moving on. Oh, yeah, I hear you. And they're going to be playing the winner of the Washington Wizards. There's another one nobody would have thought. Just a couple of seasons ago, the Wizards were all the way in the basement of the very NBA. The Wizards and the Indiana Pacers. Right now, the Pacers, the number 1 seed in the East, lead that series 3-2. When it comes right down to it, the Pacers really should win this series. And many were putting their money on the Pacers to win the NBA championship. But I'm thinking there's a lot of people right now that are rethinking that and think, well, you may have to be leaning to the Miami Heat. Because the Pacers really haven't had a very good playoff season. Over in the West, it really should be no surprise that the San Antonio Spurs dispensed of the Portland Trailblazers 4-1. But now, the infamous and Donald Sterling-less LA Clippers are hanging tough with the Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC right now leads that one 3-2. But I'm going to tell you, I'd say watch the Clippers. Watch them. This series, I think, has the potential to be going to 7 games. And honestly, I think there's something about rooting for the Clippers that isn't a bad thing. I mean, considering everything that they've been through, I think it kind of be a neat story to see the Clippers advance and go on. But I think ultimately, in the end, you got to say, probably San Antonio is going to come out of the West. They're going to win that one. You're going to have probably, to me, it's very likely, I think at this point, you're going to have Miami coming out of the East. And you're probably looking at, believe it or not, a complete rematch of last year's NBA championship, where you're going to have San Antonio and the Miami Heat going in the championship. All right. So now I get that guilt off of my shoulders. I don't feel so bad about the fact we haven't talked NBA. All right. We're going to close it out. This is our last show here from Frat House 1. But we got to do one more thing. We got to take a look at our Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week. And that's NFL draft related, as a lot of our conversation was this evening. And it was a story that broke on Saturday that, in fact, there was this alleged scouting report that was leaked from the New England Patriots that, well, I wouldn't say it wasn't completely dismissive, but when it got into some character issues, it was pretty tough on one Johnny Manziel, referring to him as a spoiled brat and somebody that basically didn't have work ethic. I kind of laughed at it. I thought to myself, boy, this is great. We get to see an official scouting report basically saying everything that we want to say and already knew. But it was an awesome scouting report, whether it was true or false. It was an awesome scouting report, and that's an awesome Frat House Sports Facebook post of the week. So you'll want to get out to Facebook and like our Frat House Sports page. Get over there and give us a like, all right? Do that. You're going to want to do that before we come back to you from the new place in 2 weeks, all right? All right. Before I get out of here, one more thing. Oh, don't forget when you mentioned FratHouseSports.net, you're going to be appearing on here. You're going to be the one doing that next week.
That's what I think of your roster pick, Mike.
Get over there and check that out, FratHouseSports.net. Oh, man, it's been a wild ride, gentlemen. 140 weeks here from Frat House Sports 1. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you both for doing that, and we look forward to having everybody back together at Frat House Sports 2.
FS2.
Frat House Sports 2 in 2 weeks. We look forward to having all of you as well. And the only way we can do that is if you do one thing for me. And it's the one thing I've been asking for 140 weeks right here from this spot.
1,000 days.
Keep us real. Keep us live. Keep us going. We'll see you then. Oh, this one's going to be in Cobb County. They're getting it in 2017. It'll hold 41,500 people at a cost of $672 million.
Who's paying for it?
Good question. I didn't go that far. You know that you know me.
The big boss man.
That's usually my area. I realize.
Georgia's paying.
I had to know somebody was going to bring that one up. Who's paying for it? Mike will know because he is right all over that municipal funding bullshit. Okay. All right. Well, I'll find that one out and I'll bring you an update in 2 weeks. Let's go on to the next story.
Wait.
And that is, which I think is actually a pretty funny story. Albeit we don't have the video, but the video is now up over on Frat House Sports Facebook, which is great. And that was...
who's funding the new Atlanta Braves stadium?
Here's our outtake.
Who's funding the new Atlanta Braves stadium?
Way to go, Droid. You can't even get it right.
You are a dumb.
Why you are sidekick.
Well, you are. Yeah.